Hey folks, it's Nicola here from Conscious Crypto Traders, and I'm joined with my partner in crime, so to speak, Teresa de Grobois, and also Randall from Crypto Love, one of my favorite crypto YouTubers. Watch his videos all the time. We're going to post the link to his YouTube channel below so that you can go over and see all the really good stuff that he does. So first of all, just hi Randall, welcome to our channel.
Boom shakalaka, what's going on, everybody? Hey,
Yeah.
good to see you.
Shakalaka. That's awesome.
We knew you had to say it at least once.
There we go, and we're done for the episode. Yeah.
We
Uh,
can say it as many times as you like. Just to get started, tell us a little bit about your journey into getting into cryptocurrency. You've had your YouTube channel for 4 years, and then how you took $1,000 and turned it into $10,000.
sure. So I got into crypto because a YouTuber that I watched and respected very much, Sasha Daygame. I went to one of his conferences called the Infinite Man Summit in Bulgaria. And this was in 2017. And he was saying, hey, if you have one Bitcoin, you'll be set for life. And I was like, that sounds too good to be true. I got to check it out. so, so I did, and I had heard about Bitcoin for a few years before that. My brother and I used to live across the street from a Bitcoin ATM, and it was in the little post office shop that we would go to. So we would see it all the time and always talk about it. And we're like, isn't that thing that has a limited supply? But we so after Sasha said that, I just took him on his word. I bought a Bitcoin and then just started doing more research. And I started watching a lot of videos on YouTube trying to figure out all these different cryptocurrencies, and then figured, hey, that looks fun to do. So I'll give it a whirl. I started making some videos. And I would say the first turning, I remember when the my first kind of alt season that I was involved in, where you could say I turned 1,000 into 10,000, was I had no idea what I was doing back then. So I just tried to buy as many of the altcoins in the top 100 that I could. And I I don't exactly remember which one. It may have been like Omise Go, or when Neo went from ant shares to Neo or something like that. But that was just like overnight, just 1,000 to 10,000.
Wow. So buying the right altcoin at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely buying the right one at the right time. And oftentimes that can be very hard to predict because you never know which altcoins are going to pump. And I still am of the opinion that most of the pumps are due to pump groups and market makers, so experienced traders doing it for the companies, and also sometimes when influential people make videos about coins that have a limited supply, and
Mhm.
so that'll cause a coin to pump as well. So I think those are three of the largest causes for altcoin pumps. But I mean, it can pump naturally, and I think that being in the right time is good. And right now, we're very strong in an alt season. It may not be the true alt season, but we're very strong in an alt season where most of the top altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. So it would seem that being in altcoins right now is a good thing to do.
Yeah, that is like superbly interesting. Pump groups. Haven't heard of that. Makes
Oh,
sense.
well, yeah. If you try and find there's a pump group on Telegram that's larger than my own Telegram channel that stole crypto love.
Okay.
They took my name and my
Really?
logo and they made the pump
Wow.
group. And unfortunately, with a lot of these things, it's hard to take care of the scammers because the Telegram doesn't help with it. I have problems with stuff on YouTube where people keep creating channels that say they call themselves Crypto Love with my logo, and they try and get people to contact them on WhatsApp, and it's just like I keep blocking their channels, and they just create another channel and just do it over again. So it's you know
The game of whack-a-mole.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So where
I
have
I love sorry, I
sorry.
love the stand you took against the scammer you gave the bad review of, who was threatening you on your channel.
Hmm.
As someone who has fallen prey to more than one scam, in terms of like just putting my money in the wrong investment pool or the wrong exchange, I had to say I really was cheering you on when you did that. I was just so thrilled to see an influential YouTuber call someone out on that behavior. Like, thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
So
It's something where you need to do your own research in this, uh, in this, and I think in this world that we're living in now, you kind of need to do your own research. You can't really take anything for granted anymore, but especially where money's concerned, you got to keep your eyes open.
yeah, and you can do your research and they can look amazing on paper, and you know, it happens, right? So yeah, I'm glad to see people being so careful. So Randall, what's your take on April? We've just had a really big dump. We've had 6 green monthly candles in a row. What's your best predictions and best indicators you think for what we're going to see in the remaining weeks of April?
Yeah, April's been a really surprising month. So, I mean, historically, April and May are very big months for Bitcoin, whether you look at just the last halving or whether you look at Bitcoin in total. Both months, Bitcoin's had very big returns. This April, not so much. So my take on it is that one, we've seen Bitcoin complete a pattern twice, 2 times in a row. So we've had 2 halvings. Bitcoin has kind of repeated its pattern twice. That means there's like a 75% chance it will repeat it again this time. However, it's kind of like game theory where like you're playing rock, paper, scissors with someone. Like, you know what it should do, but because you know what it should do, is it actually going to do that thing, or is it going to do something different? So I wonder about that all the time, what's going to happen. Now, I think that right now, I am surprised with what happened in April. I'm not surprised that we had a dump. I think it's we were overdue for a dump. But this time of year, I was surprising more, or I was expecting more in April and May. We may still have more in April and May. We may not. Now, one thing that I did look at is where Bitcoin, I think this time could have a double peak like it did back in 2013. And so I think potentially because of the Pi cycle chart top, we had a top recently, and also just like, I'm just actually really impressed with how popular Bitcoin is right now and cryptocurrencies. Like Snickers did a Dogecoin ad, and Chipotle was giving away Bitcoin, and Gary Vaynerchuk's talking Bitcoin. Like, every day I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is going mainstream. Like, what is going on? So I think that potentially the prices may go somewhat sideways in kind of the same band that we're in right now. There's 2 charts that show that. One's the Bitcoin price chart, and another one is I just draw these little spider lines that I got from CryptoFace, where you take the peak across the July 2019 peak, and it just makes a really nice line that Bitcoin just follows along. And so I think that that's probably where we'll be at for a while. In terms of the dump, I mean, if I can be honest, I don't even look at Bitcoin and crypto prices on a regular basis, because it goes up, it goes down, it goes sideways. And if it wasn't for making videos, probably what I would do is just buy a bunch of Bitcoin and set it and forget it, because it can be stressful watching the price every day. But having that dump,
yeah, we're like, tell me about it.
Yeah, it can be super stressful. And when the market dumped 20%, a bunch of people were asking me, they're like, oh my goodness, like aren't you devastated with your portfolio? And I'm like, I really didn't even look at the price that much. Like, I make videos about it, but I know that I kind of look out 10 years in the future. And as long as we don't have some worldwide Bitcoin ban, which I think would be very difficult to implement, or as long as we don't have some black swan event, in 10 years, Bitcoin is going to be insane, and cryptocurrencies are going to be insane. So like the volatility that goes on right now, yeah, you can pull your hair out, but also you can just be like, wow, this is quite an exciting ride.
Yeah, really. I love what you say about Bitcoin going mainstream too, because I always know the winds have shifted when my daughter starts bragging about her mom who's a trader, and her friends start calling me saying, should I buy Bitcoin? So it's like, okay, it's in the news. I got it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about your channel is that you zoom out a lot and you're going to different sites to look at the bigger picture surrounding the actual technical analysis on the charts. So, what are some of the favorite places you like to go, and indicators that you use to give you an idea of what to talk about in your videos and where the and where the market's going?
Yeah, so I would say I have a few top resources that I like to use. So one of my favorite resources is just some research done by Willy Woo, where he takes a look at Bitcoin compared with all the other altcoins. And like I grew up with a scientific education, and so when I see like data that supports certain things, I get pretty convinced whether it's true or not. But he has a chart where he takes a look at Bitcoin versus 2,600 altcoins, the top 2,600 altcoins. And so Bitcoin goes up, and altcoins in general, they all trend down. And there are five of them that are oscillators. So they bounce back and forth against Bitcoin. So this was one way that I was able to call Dogecoin. Like back months ago when Dogecoin was worth nothing, I called the pump of this because I was like, hey, this is an oscillator that's way down against Bitcoin. It's bound to bounce back. And I didn't know when it would happen, but I knew that based on, this theory that there are a bunch of degenerators that just lose value against Bitcoin and five oscillators. If you play the oscillators correct, then you bet on them when they're low, and then when they're high, you sell. And so Dogecoin was one that I was able to call. The next oscillator that's going to do that is Litecoin. I don't know when, but it looks like it's starting to break out of the band that it's been in for a while. And so that's one resource, is just the Willy Woo post on oscillators and degenerators. Another resource that I like, just because it's kind of pretty and it's kind of true, is the Bitcoin rainbow chart.
Yeah,
And that one,
up a lot. I love it.
yeah, that one's just like such a great indicator of where we are in the market and the overall market sentiment. And also, when it gets into the seriously sell area and like massive FOMO area, I'm definitely going to think twice, three times, four times about selling, because that's probably going to be the time when I'm going to least want to sell. And so having that chart is going to be a very handy resource. Also on that same site, the blockchaincenter.net, there's an altcoin season index, which is really cool because it takes a look at, is it alt season or is it Bitcoin season? And that just the going between altcoin season and Bitcoin season, that's an oscillator too. So you can actually, I haven't done it myself, but I'm theorizing that you could actually do that to know when to get into and out of Bitcoin and altcoins to play that more profitably just from that chart. So those are two charts that I like. And then on another resource that I do like is on TradingView. There's a trader there called Trading Shot, and I just think he has really accurate analyses on his charts. So that's another resource that I like to use.
Beautiful. We'll get those links off you and put them in the description down below. That's excellent. Thanks, Randall.
Mm-hmm.
So I've often heard you talk about different days of the week and how they compare to each other. And one of the things we're doing on Conscious Crypto is talking a lot about scenario trading. And I don't know if you've heard of scenario trading. It was actually invented by a trader named Tom Hugar. And it's basically the notion that if you dive into the really granular research, like don't just look at how Mondays perform, but look at how Mondays perform relative to whether there's been an all-time high on the weekend or whether there's been a CME gap or things like that. I am wondering if there are scenarios that you happen to love to watch that are at that kind of granular level that you could share with us.
Yeah, so I really do enjoy looking at that stuff. I actually made a whole video on the best day, the best time, the best week, the best month to buy and sell Bitcoin, just based on data, because I love data and I think that it can show us a lot of things. And I'd be very interested in that trading that you're talking about, because that sounds great. And
yeah, we have team researching days. We're just taking teams of volunteers. Like we've got a Monday team and a Tuesday team. So we'll let you know what we find out. In fact, I'd love to have you back on when we're actually getting to that level of granularity.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me know, because we could have you on my channel and share it with everybody. So that would be awesome. Uh, and I think that's what people want, because I know the reason that I look at that stuff is because when I started just investing in general, I just started putting money in an index fund because I realized that, most traders can't do better than an index fund, or at least that's what Warren Buffett says. And, we don't like him in crypto, but he's done pretty good in the traditional investments. And so I was like, well, if most traders can't do better than index funds, I'll just start putting my money in index funds. But then I'm like, oh, but wait, the market's up today, it's down tomorrow, or it's down yesterday. When's the best day to put my money in? And so I started doing research and finding like the best day of the month, when historically the S&P was the lowest, on what day of the month, and historically what day was the highest. And then I would just or I would put it in on the days that it was the lowest, because then I could buy the most. So I think that's kind of what everyone is looking for in terms of what day to buy it, what day is the highest, what day is the lowest. And I think it can make a difference. Um, it's kind of like we were talking about before with the game theory, or kind of, is it a catch 22? Is it a paradox? I always wonder this stuff, because like I look at charts with Fibonacci lines and they line up so perfectly, and it's just like, how does that stuff happen? So, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, this stuff works perfectly, but then sometimes I do it like, I told some people that I know about the days of the weeks, when historically it's lowest and when historically it's highest. So they just set their automatic buys on their dollar cost averaging on Coinbase to be the days that it's lowest. So now every day that it's not the lowest, they call me up and they let me know that.
Well, that's why we're doing scenario trading as actually one of our playlists, to have a look at here is the general trend. What happens around around all of that would change that. So I think I love that video, by the way. We will post a link to it underneath, because it is an awesome video. Monday is usually the highest, and then the dump, and often on Monday you do see a bit of a rally in our morning on the American time zone, and then a little bit of a dump later on. But every now and then it's the opposite. So what is it that's is it the moon? Has somebody put their tongue to the left side of the mouth instead of the right? Or I don't know, but we will be investigating that and reporting that here on this channel.
Yeah, it sounds like I think a lot of people would really enjoy to find that stuff out, what the causes for that is.
Yeah,
Because the more we can know about the market, the better. Like I know so much more about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets in general than I did last bull run. If I knew now what I knew last bull run, and if the Bitcoin rainbow chart was around then, I would have been out when it was in the massive FOMO area. But
yeah.
but now I look at it and I'm like, well, if a lot of people are planning on leaving at the massive FOMO area, does that mean you have to leave earlier? Or does that mean because we have Bitcoin, which is a limited supply, and really there's barely anything left on exchanges, does that mean we're going to blow through there? And it's kind of a tough mind game you got to figure out.
Yeah.
Great
Hey,
questions.
yeah, we're having conscious conversations here on our channel that no other YouTuber is having. So if this is all exciting to you and you're juiced up, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, and click all, so you get notified when we do live streams and when we upload our videos daily. So
we're also paying attention to the questions you post in the comment fields.
yeah.
So if you've got specific scenarios you think we should be looking at, or questions you want us to dive into, please leave your comments down below. We can even have Randy back to compare notes on some of these scenarios. So keep them coming, keep the comments coming.
And speaking of scenarios, do you see that the presence, like if we hit Monday, for example, normally we see a little bit of a rally, highest price during the week, and then it dips down from there. So have you noticed, Randall, if anything has actually shifted that or changes that, like an all-time high over the weekend, or a CME gap that was posted on the Sunday?
Yeah, I actually haven't done the research to find out if those things do affect it, because I mean, I'm sure that there are probably some really smart computer programmers who could write up some code to figure that out for us. And that, I mean, if they do that, that would be awesome, because that's some really helpful stuff.
Yeah, well, our ninja researchers will get onto that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, there is one more resource that I just remembered talking about smart computer programmers. It's the Colin Talks Crypto Bitcoin Bull Run Index. So he took eight of the top uh, charts that indicate the end of the bull run, and he put them all together to kind of make an index of how close we are to the top. And right now we're like 72%, which is close, but not totally close. So that one's at cbbi.info, because that one he had the help of a really intelligent developer who wrote the whole thing out, coded the whole thing for him, and it's a pretty amazing chart. Uses the Bitcoin rainbow price chart, uses the pi cycle top, uses 6 other charts that are really good.
Beautiful. Do you have favorite indicators that help you make your decisions on like on an entry or an exit point on whether the price are up and down when you're doing your swing trading?
Yeah, so Fibonacci extensions. Like I have a big boy crush on Fibonacci. But it's like I'm just always blown away how incredible that is. And with technical analysis that I do, I just really keep it simple, like trend lines, moving averages, and Fibonacci. And
Mhm.
that's like, if I just have those things, then that's pretty much all that I need, because I can identify, there are a couple patterns that I'll identify, like head and shoulders or a wedge or ascending wedge, descending wedge, different things like that kind of give me an idea. But um, when I'm looking at where to get into and where to get out of, so I look to get into things when they found resistance, or when they found support, excuse me. And when they found support and they're just sitting there and they're waiting, I think that's a great time to get in. In terms, or I think there's basically 3 times that you can buy something. You can buy it before it pumps, you can buy during the pump, or you can buy after the pump. And so a lot of people, especially, and I did this a ton early on, was I got in after the pump. And after the pump is like when everybody's talking about it, when it's one of the top gainers on Coin Market Cap and everything else. Uh, that's after the pump. And so it's going to be a long, hard ride down, and it's painful. But I think that's something that we all need to do a number of times until we get that out of our system, and then you can buy before or during the pump. So buying during the pump is when you find something that is trending upwards, and you can ride that trend for as long as you can ride it. And then buying before the pump, like for instance, I'm in Litecoin now, and that's something that I don't know how long it's going to take to pump, but it's highly unlikely it's going to go down any further, and there's a very good chance that it is going to pump. So, it's something where you get in there, you sit, you wait, and just enjoy.
I know I'm getting a little impatient with Litecoin right now. I've been sitting on it and sitting on it. It's like, come on. But
Hmm.
I know if I sell it the next day, it will pump. So
Yeah, could you help us out a little bit? Could you?
yeah, really. So you would all owe me a $7 latte if I do that.
There you go. You're going to be drinking a lot of lattes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
I will say that it has broken out of the descending wedge that it's been in for quite a while. So it has broken out of that, and I imagine that you know I don't know. I don't think we're in the true alt season yet. Like I remember true alt season of January 2018, where people were telling me about the lit coins that they were buying and the ripples, and they were buying these things. They had no idea what they were called. They had no idea what they did or anything like that, but they were buying it. I don't think we're there yet. I think we've gotten the market's gone up because of a lot of like NFT FOMO, and I honestly don't really understand that too much myself, but it's the next shiny thing that's going to draw people into cryptocurrency. So I think that when we do have the next altcoin cycle, whether the one that we're in right now lasts for a few months, or whether Bitcoin kind of takes off, because it's Bitcoin's sitting towards the bottom of this bullish megaphone that has been trading in since October. So I think that there's a chance it could take off, because the last time it was in this area, it went from like 17,000 to 42,000. So I think that if Bitcoin does that, then we'll really see a giant altcoin um, FOMO after that, and that's when we'll see everything really take off.
Wow.
Oh, nice. Okay, so I will hang on to the Litecoin. Yeah. So what? Sorry, go ahead, Nicola.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what off-chart resources do you use when you're coming up with your summarizations on price action?
Well, I like to see the headlines on Coin Market Cap and Coin Telegraph, and I also use Crypto Panic to kind of get the general ideas of which articles are trending. I like looking at, there's a Twitter account, I think it's Coin98 Analytics, that takes a look at a lot of the trending cryptocurrencies and things like that. Because, I'd love to be able to get like an overall market picture. And I think that's the downside of being a human, is that we see everything subjectively. So like I can only see it how I see it. And especially with NFTs and things like that. Like I look at NFTs and I'm like, why? But I oftentimes wonder like what it would be like to see it with new eyes. Like I remember what it was like to see crypto with new eyes. Like I remember looking at everything and everything was like, oh my goodness, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Whereas now I have the eyes of someone who's been in it for 4 years and who has ridden out a long bear market. And, so I know what that's like. And, yeah, but I think the general idea for me is just to try and get as big of a picture as possible, because the more you can kind of understand the general trends and where the money is moving, the better. I think in general, all ships rise together. So like everything is going to go up together, some things faster than others, and then everything's going to go down together. I don't think that we'll go down as far this cycle as we've gone down previous cycles, because we have really big hodlers this time, where I like in the institutions, where I don't think we had those before. But I also think we're going to be kind of surprised with how far it's going to go down. And but we may also be really surprised with how far it's gone up. Like I'm still shocked how quickly Bitcoin went from $10,000 to $60,000. Like I'm blown away with how fast it did that. But I also personally haven't felt that same feeling that I felt when Bitcoin went from like $4,000 to $20,000. Like that was just like, I mean, I can't explain the feeling, but it was just like, oh my goodness, this is it. It's going to happen. And I haven't had that feeling yet. So I'm waiting for that feeling. And then I'll be like, okay, now we're near the top.
You might be too seasoned and jaded to get that feeling. You'll have to.
It's possible. It's possible. Yeah.
You mentioned before that 3 times to buy at the support, like when it's pumping and after it's pumped. Do you have a favorite strategy, like something that your go-to when you're looking at trading?
Yeah. So because I'm a US citizen, I'm not forced to, but I trade less often. So until they started really enforcing the trading laws for taxation in the US, I used to trade a lot. Like I would trade multiple times per day. Ever since they did that, every time you trade, you get taxed on the trade. And then, like with my trading theory, I trade in and out. Like I hold my gains in Bitcoin, I trade into a trade and then out of a trade. So basically that's every trade that I make, I get taxed twice, one into the altcoin and one out of the altcoin. So that made trading a lot more difficult for me, in that each winning trade that I have, the losing trades, the government doesn't take anything from you, but the winning trades, they want 30 to 50% of each transaction. So that means for each trade, I get taxed twice. So that means I'm getting taxed 60 to 100%. So I need to know with my trades that they're really going to be winning trades. So ever since that occurred, I trade a lot less often. But that being said, my strategy mostly is getting in before things pump. So I spend most of my time trying to find coins not while they're going up and not when they're hyped, but before. And one of the biggest things I look at is just the oscillators. So like Willy Woo talks about oscillators and generators. The oscillators are Litecoin, Decred, Dogecoin. I think Binance Coin may be becoming one of them nowadays. And then there's one other one that's slipping my mind. Stellar Lumens. So I think those are the oscillators, and basically they just go up and down against Bitcoin. So those are very easy ones to trade. But the thing is, if you want to trade on a daily basis or something like that, you can't, because these things you trade maybe like once or twice a year each coin. So that's my kind of my way of going about things, is just trying to find them beforehand. I also like scouring token metrics. I forgot to mention that as a platform that I use, because that one, they use computers which can handle a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of information on that one, so it can be somewhat overwhelming. But I like going through there and seeing what coins are coming up multiple times. I like seeing what coins are on there for a long time. I like taking a look at their long-term, their investor yearly picks, because those are ones that they think are long-term undervalued, and then finding ones that are set up well for that, like ones that are resting on good support. And then every once in a while, like, people just bring up these coins. Like, I don't even know how they come up, but like, well, so like Matic was one that did really well. That one was from Token Metrics. But like Elrond, somebody just reached out to me and was like, you got to check out Elrond. So I started checking it out. And for some reason, it reminded me of what Cardano did back when it went from like 2 cents to 72 cents back in 2018. And so, that one I got into. And it's just, I don't know how it happens with some of these, but like sometimes it just have a kind of a gut feeling. But my motto since the beginning is like, all-time high, do not buy. So like anytime I see something that's pumping, I just go on to the next one, because there's like 8,000 some altcoins right now. It's like there's a million other chances. Like, let this one go and go on to the next one. And that's just my philosophy.
All-time high, do not buy. We have a song that we sing to Bob.
You gotta write another song.
Yeah. No patent, no trade.
Yeah, there you go.
Patent, no trade.
Nicola runs a traders group to help a group of people with spot trading called the Crypto Ninjas. And that's one of the biggest things she's always trying to do, is convince them, like, if there isn't a pattern or something to trade, don't trade. Because people like get really hyped in this FOMO. They're just, I'm a trader, let me buy something.
Yeah, and it's like I think it's like something that's rooted deep down in us, where we want to do that because we can feel that gain a lot more than we can feel the loss. Like, we feel that pleasure. It's almost the gambler mentality. But I like to read a lot of books, and so even though Warren Buffett isn't very respected in the crypto space, in traditional investments, like, he's done stuff that nobody else can do. And he says something along the lines of, like, if you told a trader that over the course of their career they could only make 5 trades, they would take a lot more time to figure out which trades are really worthwhile. I think one of the problems with trading is we've made it so easy for people that we can just have bad trade after bad trade after bad trade after bad trade, and we don't really see it until the end when we're out of money. And so taking a viewpoint where, like, I can only do this many trades, or like I have to be really sure. And I think that's something that that taxation the US tax code has done for me, is like, I really need to be sure, because I know Bitcoin's going up. It's kind of slow, and it's not going to have the gains of the altcoins, but I know in general Bitcoin's going up, so I can just hold that. But if I'm going to trade, I really need to be convinced that this thing is going to do well. And it's helped me in a little bit. I don't get to trade as often as some other people, but hey, it's pretty good.
That's solid advice, though. When I first went into Forex trading back in the dark ages, like 20 years ago, like, we didn't have the tools back then, like TradingView. Wow.
Yeah.
But I used to find 80% of the money that I would make in a year would come from 5 trades. And so like, I love that advice. It so reinforces everything I've ever learned about trading, which is like, all those other little tiny trades are really almost like playing games at night. They're like whatever you want to call them, stress relief, although I don't really find that, if you're worried about your trades, not stress relief. But really just looking for what are those really monumental trades that are really going to take you to the win. You can forget all the others because 80% of those you lose anyway because they're not that solid. So yeah, really, really good advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even being able to look back on your trades, like a lot of traders talk about keeping track of your trades, like before you make trades and after you make trades, writing down why you got into them, like why, what you were thinking, what you were feeling, what you were seeing, so that way you can go back and analyze them. And if you keep a chart of that, then you can go back at the end of the year, see which ones are your most profitable, and you can use like the 80/20 principle to try and track down more things like your most profitable trades.
Yeah, I have a little trader's book here for exactly that purpose. And then on the back, my emotions. What was I feeling? Was it raining? Had I had my green smoothie? Have I had too much fruit and am I bouncing off the walls from the caffeine?
That's awesome. Yeah.
So what are the three most important things for your crypto exit strategy when we do start to hit the peak?
Thing number one, I'll call it the Michael Saylor strategy, never sell. So there's some that I'm just never going to sell because I think this is kind of money of the future, and this is going to change everything for the future. And I don't think that we can even begin to comprehend it. Like just the fact that Bitcoin kind of follows the stock to flow model, and each halving the value goes up an order of magnitude. I mean, we'll have to see if it happens this one, but like we're pretty darn close to $100,000, and that's where I was predicting. So just the fact that it's doing that, um, I I know for a fact that humans can't comprehend compound interest, which is like another exponential function. Like if we really understood compound interest, everybody would just use it, but we don't. We actually end up using it against us, where we use credit cards and then we use compound interest against us. So like I don't think that we can actually comprehend how insane Bitcoin's going to be, and also a lot of other cryptocurrencies. So that's good. That's strategy number one, is just hold it forever, because the longer you hold it, the better it's going to do. And so that's part one on the exit strategy. um Part two on my exit strategy is actually um, have somewhat of a tiered approach, like levels. So I've actually already sold some, and uh, I think that the reason that I did that is probably just from, you know, surviving surviving a bear market, I guess, and
Mhm.
seeing that I don't know when the top's going to be. Like there are some indicators that I think that I know, like I can compare it to last time, but even this bull run on itself is different from the last one. Like the last one we saw Bitcoin take off, and then we saw ETH, Litecoin, um, we saw those take off, and then we saw the smaller alts take off. This time there's a lot more altcoin incorporation in the bull run, and it's a lot more quickly back and forth between them. So whether the things that I'm relying on to know the peak will actually show up this time, I don't know. So I've already taken out some, and then I have other levels where I plan to take out more, just to be able to get through to the next bull run, because that's my goal, is to be able to get through the next bull run, and then by then I should be fine. And so that's strategy two. And so don't sell, tiered exits. And then I would say number three is just something that I heard from a pretty experienced trader, is don't be greedy.
Mm.
So I think everyone would love to sell the peak. And I would too. Like I would love to sell the absolute peak. Like I remember back in 2017, 2018, Charlie Lee called the top almost exactly. And so like to be able to do that would be awesome. But the chance that any of us would be able to call the absolute peak is unlikely. So my thing would just be, don't be greedy, and realize that you may sell before the peak, you may sell after the peak. There's a good chance that you'll probably sell at a price that's like between 20 and 40% less than the absolute peak. That's just the way it's going to happen, because the peak's going to come and go, and then we're all going to look back and be like, oh, I wish I sold, or we're going to sell too early and be like, oh, I wish I didn't sell. But just like coming to grips with the fact that I'm going to sell 20 to 40% below the peak, and being okay with that. So I would say that's that's step 3.
Yeah, really what we're looking for is a magnified blow off top here, right? So if you can catch 70 to 80%, you are doing well. Yeah. So, and we got land for sale for Bitcoin here in Costa Rica and the intentional community we're building. So when people start selling, yeah, come see us.
In Crypto Ninjas, I'm constantly saying to our guys, get early, don't stay too late, and don't get greedy. That's kind of our motto.
It's great advice. It's great advice. And like there's these things that we hear over and over again in trading. They're there for a reason, because trading 100% goes against our natural instincts. Like when something's pumping, it's like, oh, I'm going to stay in this forever. And then when the price is dropping, we're like, I got to sell. There's no way I'm going to buy it now. And it's like, we have to retrain ourselves to be able to be effective traders. And so, having things that you can look to like that are really helpful.
Yeah. And I like what you said before. This is future money. Oh, there go my glasses. There's the future money. So would you sell your cash? Probably not, right? You would hold on to it. So we hear a lot from traders that emotions are important, managing your emotions, dealing with FOMO and FUD. Yet not a lot is being taught on, well, how do you actually do that? Which is one of the reasons why we started this channel, is to fill in that gap of going, well, here are some tools and techniques. And we've got a whole playlist called Mindset Champions for that end. So I want to ask you, how do you deal with the emotions that come up, whether it's greed or fear or FOMO or panic, whatever, or, being on yourself about losing, whatever the emotion may be?
Yeah. I think one helpful thing is meditation. So having a regular meditation practice, because it allows you to kind of deal with those things in a more experienced way. Like you're able to just step back from them and see that they're an emotion, and that they'll come and they'll go, and experience what it's like. But also just you have to encounter them a number of times before you can have an effective strategy against them. So I think being like, I think probably you need to just be in crypto for long enough. Like, I think that probably this 20% drop that we just had the other day, people who got into crypto a week ago or a month ago are probably regretting it, and they're like having a terrible time right now. But I can say for a fact, after being in crypto for 4 years, I don't even notice it. Like it didn't even affect me.
The rest of us are going, yay, buy the dip, buy the dip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when the price drops like that, I look at it more like, where did it drop to and why did it stop there? And that's like a really important support level. Because this was like the low 50 area was something that Willie Wu was talking about, where we have the biggest institutional buy-in that's happened. Like over 10% of Bitcoin was bought at prices around that level. So, that means we have really strong support there. That means that, after we have a peak, that may be the bottom. And so I'm looking at it that way. I think in general, whenever there's really strong enthusiasm about something, I'm skeptical. And then whenever there's FUD about it, I'm like, whatever. There's a buy opportunity. And that just came from seeing it often enough. Like, it's like we always have this like China FUD, and then the price tanks, and then it, a week or a month later, it's always back up. It's like, it happens how many times? and we always have these things where like everybody gets very exuberant about a project and then the price tanks. So my I would just say that like I try and do the opposite, and I get some flack for it because people be really enthusiastic about something. I'm like, not no, not for me. But
Yeah.
I know that I've saved myself a lot of times by not doing that, or I've saved myself by doing that, by being not enthusiastic about a project. And I've probably lost out on a few opportunities too. Like I can say that I totally missed out on this most recent Dogecoin pump because I had already sold. So, because it pumped well beyond any place where I thought it would ever go. And then from there, it went even higher. And yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, I missed out on a big thing because of these trading strategies that I have, but I still was able to capture some gains, and I still was able to stick with a winning strategy. It's like there's this book, The Way of the Turtle, where they talk about how they took a whole bunch of regular people and they turned them into exceptional traders. And basically, the gist of the book is find a winning strategy and stick with that all the time. And so I know for me what my winning strategy is. So I just try and stick with that as often as I can. And that's how I consistently win.
I love that title, The Way of the Turtle. That so speaks to, the whole notion of trade like a robot,
Exactly.
do the same thing over and over again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. If you were starting all over again, what would be the first thing you would recommend to people to consider doing?
Just buy Bitcoin and do as much research as you can and hold off on trading for a month or two.
Beautiful.
Yeah, simple as that. Because I think that most of your losing trades are going to be early on, and I, like I think that it's important to understand. A lot of people get their information for cryptocurrency from YouTube, and for a YouTuber, it's in my best interest to make a video that gets a lot of views because that helps the channel. And for a trader, it's in your best interest to get the best information that you can. And so sometimes those are in direct contrast. Like when a coin is pumping, it's in my best interest as a YouTuber to make a video about it. It is not in your best interest to buy it. And that's something that as a novice trader, you may not know. And so that can be difficult. So that's why I say, buy Bitcoin, do your research, and wait. So hopefully you'll be able to kind of pick up some of these patterns and see them. Because like I try and do as much on the channel as I can to help find, like I made a ton of videos about Dogecoin when it was worthless and nobody watched them. And now I make I make one video where I have Dogecoin in the title, not even totally about Dogecoin, and it gets 10 times more views than all of those videos did when it wasn't pumping. So like it's challenging to make videos that will help people out 100% and get the traction that needs to be gotten so it'll get out to those people. It's like it's a very difficult thing. So I think that starting out, Bitcoin is going to, if you have to bet on one coin, bet on Bitcoin. You have the money's in the bank. You're going to be set with your Bitcoin, and you can do your research on all coins, figure out which ones to buy, start paper trading even, because that can be really helpful. You can see, like, pretend that you're trading and just write the stuff down on paper. Be like, oh, I really like this one because I watched this video. I'm going to buy it at this price and let's see what happens. And let's see where I would sell. And did I win that trade? Did I lose that trade? You can do that for a while. It's a little bit different than real trading because you don't actually have skin in the game, but you get the experience without actually losing money. You may not actually gain the money if it was a good trade, but you get some experience. And I think that's a good way to start. However, I should say I'm just being a hypocrite because I did not start like that. I got in, I bought Bitcoin, I bought every altcoin I could. So that,
it's messy. It's messy when you get into this space. Yeah. Even coming into it from having been a Forex trader many years ago, like crypto's kind of the Wild West, like these currencies don't behave the way they're supposed to, and all these giant dips and pumps. And so, yeah, it's a different mindset for sure.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite crypto exchanges for the United States? As I know that in our Crypto Ninjas group, we've got people from all over the world, and so many of the things that we are able to enjoy, the American members have got to do a little bit of gymnastics to be able to get around all of that.
Yeah. So the answer is, unfortunately, if you were born in the United States, there's no good options. I mean, basically, you have Coinbase, which is decent, but it has like 30 cryptocurrencies on it. I think you can probably do very well. You can do exceptional with 30 cryptocurrencies, but it doesn't give you a lot of options. You can use Uniswap, which borderline, I don't exactly know the legality of it, but you can use Uniswap, and you'll probably have to report your own taxes and everything like that. I am not a fan of Binance.us. It's not affiliate. I've heard so many horror stories with that one. They do have a few more coins available, but I think that really, as a U.S. citizen, we are totally restricted in what we can trade, 100%. But there's like really no options. So, yeah, Coinbase and Uniswap, and that's it.
Crypto.com is also in the United States, in most states. I think Washington and New York might be a bit of an exception. That may have changed.
Yeah, so they're a good one. Yeah, I've used them. Yeah,
Awesome.
but it's just as a U.S. citizen, it's difficult. But I know a lot of people who have made money just trading Bitcoin, and here's the thing: like a lot of experienced traders have told me, just trade one thing until you get really good at trading that, and then you can take those skills and trade other things. And they said specifically, just trade Bitcoin until you really know Bitcoin. Just trade Bitcoin, and then from there you can go on to trade other things. You're going to miss out. It's going to happen. Being a U.S. citizen, it makes it a lot more difficult because you see all these projects and you just can't legally. And for me, it's never been worthwhile to pursue the illegal methods to do it, just because you run the risk of going to jail, and you can get rich anyways by just holding Bitcoin for long enough. So, like, it's just, but my admonition would be, I've heard a lot of horror stories about Binance.us, and they're not really affiliated with Binance.com aside from the name. So, yeah, that's that.
Do you see the climate changing a little bit in the United States going forward?
As in getting worse? Yeah.
Coming up to standard with the rest of the world in terms of regulation, in terms of the accessibility for the ordinary person to be involved in crypto.
Unfortunately, I don't. So I don't think that the SEC trusts us with our own money, and I don't think that it's going to get any better for people in the U.S. Unfortunately, they give opportunities to people who already have the money, and I'm sure it makes sense because they have the available capital to lose. But on the other hand, it's like, well, there's all the opportunity. So one of the things that really attracted me to cryptocurrency in the beginning is that it was an equal playing field for everyone. And then all of a sudden it became not so equal for people in the US. And so I don't think that they're going to make it any easier for people in the future. I think that I think regulation in the US is just starting, because with the mainstream part that we're talking about in cryptocurrency, they're just going to be starting to wrap their heads around it. Like, we're seeing some crypto safe havens like Puerto Rico, like Wyoming, that are available for people in the US, but it's a difficult one, and that's something that I've had to consider in my own strategy. Is just like, I realize that I'm going to miss a whole bunch of games just because things aren't available. And okay, that's just part of it.
Yeah, there's plenty of opportunity, like you said. Just buy Bitcoin and hold it. You can't go wrong with that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it's been awesome speaking with you today, Randall. Thank you so much. Randall is Crypto Love, the YouTuber Crypto Love. We are going to place a link to his YouTube channel below, plus the really awesome, one of my favorite of your videos actually, where you go through all of the data on what day it's best to buy, what month it's best to sell, and what the best times are, so that you can get more of Randall and the amazing videos that he puts out. And we are having amazing conversations here at Conscious Crypto Traders. So we'd dearly love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell and click all, so that you can get notified when we go live and when we upload more videos. Thanks once again, Randall. It's been awesome.